Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom, the walking, talking encyclopedia. Pacemaker, the pacemaker action potential. My Dharma, the impeccable the wisdom of the divine nature. My greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature, with which the perfect objects are designed and created. Divyank is the reward of 60 years of integrated knowledge. Impeccable wisdom is enlightening. Akhand Vidya wisdom is empowering. Since we are talking of action potential of pacemakers, I think in my introduction in nervous system, I have made it clear there is a fifth level of superconscious awareness of the physical body where the nervous system is specially controlled for a state government to take care of the local function optimally. From that angle, the three organs which have pacemakers are special organ system, nervous system. One is in the heart, another is in the digestive system, third is the uterus. Rest of the things are controlled right up to sympathetic, parasympathetic, or skeletal system. But these three are specialized because they do for a perfect homeostasis. We need water, nutrients, electrolytes, and all the things required for the requirement of cells, which come from the external world or the internal world through blood and water to the heart, and that is perceived, received, consumed, absorbed, assimilated with the digestive system for the use of the body. 100 trillion cells. Having got everything required through the blood, it comes to the heart, and heart pumps it to the rest of the body. And without a pumping heart, you cannot have consistency. So hence, heart also has the same importance, what importance we have in other organs. Then for procreation, uterus plays an important role. Child is conceived, perceived, developed, has to be delivered for the continuity, and that also in case there is a failure in digestive system, the failure in body of unconscious, this heart, this and uterus will still function, and that's the reason pacemakers are very, very important. Having understood the importance of pacemakers for the digestive system, for the requirements, heart for distribution, and uterus for delivery of the product, they had to be provided, and that's why I call nature the greatest intelligent, super intelligent being. Now, from that angle, understand the perfect human heart. Anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry I have already explained. 100 trillion cells use carbohydrate, proteins, and fatty acids and produce carbon dioxide and water. Water used in the body. Carbon dioxide has to be thrown beyond a particular level. And that's the reason venous return in the human body is 61.8034%, and arterial blood oxygenated is only 38.1966%. And that ratio is maintained in structure of the heart, size and width, and all the organs as well as venous blood and arterial blood. It's amazing. Then how deoxygenated blood from 100 trillion cells travel to the heart through superior vena cava, inferior vena cava to the right atrium, through tricuspid valve to right ventricle, to coronary semilunar valve to pulmonary trunk to the lungs for oxygenation. After oxygenation, blue blood becomes red blood through pulmonary vein to left atrium, mitral valve to left ventricle, aorta into the general circulation. This cycle should go on without any hindrance of any nature. There should not be any block. Blood should flow effortlessly in all the system to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. As a result, blood pressure has to be 120/74 and diastolic 120, stroke volume 74, ejection fraction 61.8. If all these parameters are maintained for the rest of our life, we will be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise. We can be in tune with universe consciousness and we can do wonders. From my experience, I find as I've grown older, instead of deteriorating with, and I had to prevent problems or curtail aging or reverse aging. Now I am talking about I can prevent problems, curtail aging. Now I can talk of reverse aging because even at 73, I'm as good as 21. From that angle, this is very, very important for someone to understand why pacemaker has got this and what is so special in this particular project. So having explained that, the structure of the heart and system, now let's go to the next. There are 10 stages of conducting system. Heart is also something which I have made it very clear. If it is the first stage of Brahma, which is equivalent to 22 by 21, and 10 incarnation of Vishnu are 10 stages of development at every stage. In every stage, I find there are 10 stages, which are important, vital, which cannot be replaced. So similarly, in the conducting system, heart also has a 10 stages. What are these 10 stages? You have a sino-atrial node, which is independently in the left atrium. Then you have three nodes, atrial nodes, which bring information from SA node to AV node. But there is also Bassman's bundle, which takes the information from SA node to the left atrium for its function, particularly of cardiac cycle. So I'm sure that makes a lot of sense. But of course, there is a cardiac thing in right atrium too. But then you have a bundle of his, then you have bundle of Atrio-Ventricular node, bundle of his, left bundle branch, right bundle branch, apex, and Purkinje fibers. So in totality, there are 10 significant stages from SA node to the fiber which is given to the heart to function effectively, both cardiac as well as that. From that angle, these 10 stages are very important and have brought it together. And this particular slide is just to show there are few important terms which I want everybody to understand. One is the resting membrane potential is the minimum potential which cells or anything which is excitable, equitable, should have that. And that is found in skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles, all the three. And of course, the nervous system. The minimum value without any stimulus is the resting membrane potential. Threshold value is the one when after applying threshold or stimulus, it should reach a particular level in a slow, gradual manner, and then it goes up straightway. And that stage is called threshold value. Then you have polarization. That means both right and left are polarized. Then you depolarize because they become same type. Then you have supersaturation at the top. Then repolarization and hyperpolarization. These are the stages which are very important to understand action potential. Resting is the minimum potential. Threshold is the value when sodium gets in pump or whatever electronic is required to pump should become this. Then senses which are negative and they become polarized, and when depolarized means both become opposite, then reach a supersaturation of positive because resting is negative. Then repolarization comes, it should come to the resting membrane, but in skeletal muscle it becomes hyperpolarized. That means it goes below the resting membrane potential, then it is brought back to resting stage. You can see in the picture on the right side. And then you can see the picture of neuron cells as well as node of Ranevier's, which is responsible for salt conduction. And then understand the skeletal muscles is minus 70, they are excitable. Neurons are minus 70, smooth muscles are minus 60, photoreceptors are minus 40, erythrocytes are 8.4, and chronocytes are minus 8. They are all a negative. Now among them, skeletal muscles, neurons, smooth muscles, and photoreceptors are excitable, where erythrocytes and chondrocytes are not excitable. Others are stimulus, and I think this picture gives you an idea what are the important terms to be understood when you want to understand pacemaker potential. Nernst equation, I'm just highlighting what is right in the center. Log used in Nernst equation is -61. Why did they use it? I don't think I have seen in any other book what it means, but I know one thing for certain. It is -61.8034, should have been the perfect value. Why? Because that is the concentration of water. And in this particular Nernst equation, what is important is central concentration divided by internal concentration is what is used. So we have used water as a potential to understand, and that is what my point is. 61, how did they get? I have no idea, but 60.18034 is the idea. So this is also a point which I am bringing together in this equation. As venous return should be 61.8034, arterial 38.1, and water here. So over and over, Amrit is water. Water percent of this percent in earth, body and cells, if you can maintain for rest of your body throughout, thou shall have no problem whatsoever, as long as the rest of the parameters are also as efficient as water. From that angle, now let's go on to the next stage to understand action potential of pacemaker a little better. In this particular slide is of skeletal muscles. It is not of something which is smooth muscles or cardiac muscles. Heart is a cardiac, pacemaker is a cardiac. But in this neuron, but they're also like a neuron. But this neuron in skeletal muscles, you have pacemaker resting membrane potential of -70. When stimulus is applied, if it is sufficient, it reaches a threshold value of -5. Then sodium enters fully, go to the supersaturation of 35, then repolarization with the potassium coming out, and then hyperpolarization. Then it comes on to resting membrane potential. This particular thing also, as explained, the book was defective. I have tried to improvise it and shown it over what exactly happens with Divyank in mind. So concentration of this, which I have already shown, is showing that this is also something to be understood intelligently, to go on to explain things systematically, raise questions when you find there is not a consistency. But in this, depolarization is more or less smooth, which most of others you don't see. So having explained in this particular ratio of -670 to -55 to +35 and down, all center around Divyank, the divine design of nature, and that is action potential. Now coming to the action potential of Sino-Atrial node, which is SA node in the left atrium, and then AV node or Atrio-Ventricular node, which is at the corner of the atrium to the ventricles, from which bundle of his starts, and then the conduction starts. So these two are the pacemakers which are important. Along with atrium and the ventricle are the two pacemakers which can independently also work. So all the four main pacemakers play a very important role. Now here, resting membrane potential is -61.8034. Is the resting membrane potential of both SA node and atrial node, because it again centers around water alone. The stimulus for SA node and atrial ventricular node is water at the pressure. So if that is clear in SA and clear in atrial, you should have no problem. When with that potential, there is a slow, gradual influx of sodium ions in the beginning stages from resting membrane potential, and then the threshold value is -38.1996 millivolt. Both are Divyank ratio. After that, there's a rapid influx of calcium ions. You can see right where I have put stimulus 1. is the calcium. Whereas in skeletal muscles, there is initial slow influx of sodium ions. During depolarization, there is again rapid sodium. But here, instead of rapid sodium, you have rapid calcium for depolarization. It is not based on sodium. It is calcium. Then there is rapid influx of calcium ions, and that leads to rapid saturation point of plus 10 millivolts. We reach on top, and after that, no more calcium can get in, no more sodium can get in. Then potassium starts coming out. When potassium starts coming out, then slowly, systematically, it comes down to resting membrane potential of 61.8034. So starts from 61.8034, threshold value at 38 point, can go up to positive 10 and then come down to 61.8 beautifully. As a result, first you have slow influx of sodium, then rapid influx of calcium, then outer concentration of potassium. But if you look very carefully in this particular picture, the yellow part, which is a slow graduation from resting membrane pressure to threshold value, is 61.80%. Whereas calcium and potassium both put together, it is only 38.1966%. Is it interesting, amazing, or beautiful divine design? And this picture is not drawn by me. I'm using the available picture in which I can show this concentration very, very clear. And from that angle, I would say action potential of Sino-Atrial node or AV node follows Divyank again. But here you have sodium, calcium, and potassium, whereas in skeletal muscle you have sodium and potassium alone. And this picture would make the first part is during ventricular diastole, and the second part is equivalent to ventricular systole and the corresponding part in the atrium. It follows that system very clearly, and that system again is called Divyank. Action potential in atrium is 0.1 second out of 0.8 seconds, where diastole is 0.7 or out of 8. But in ventricle, systole and diastole are into ratio of 3 and 5, and something which I've already explained, is something which I am able to see here very efficiently, effectively, and that is the beauty of this particular concentration. So I'm sure by this stage you are very clear. Stimulus for SA node and AV node is water. That means venous pressure returning to the heart is a stimulus for ECG as well as contraction of the atrium and particular 10-stage conducting system. Having understood that, now let's go to the next stage to make it even more clear. I've been raising again and again for revival of a person who falls down suddenly without any problem and loses consciousness, becomes unconsciousness, heart has stopped functioning, lungs have stopped functioning, and person has to be revived. And I have this particular stage, I'm making it very clear. I would not go for mouth-to-mouth breathing. I would straightway raise the legs to the higher level, let the blood flow into the heart as fast as possible. And that is what I call in Bhastrika Pranayam also. If you are able to do that regularly, you will have no problem in reviving the person immediately. That should be the first choice, immediate choice, and given concentration. If it immediately revives, wonderful. Otherwise, press the heart to give a stimulus to sino-atrial node for returning with a venous branch or vena cava of superior inferior, particularly there will be inferior. As a result, person will start functioning optimally one by one. So again, message is venous return has 61.8% water and of course volume. And this has to come back to the heart to as a stimulus for SN node to start the next cycle once again. If you increase this, it can easily act as a stimulus, and then once it starts functioning, person will revive and things will be no problem whatsoever. My consultation to all the people who are non-medical, anywhere you find something like that, please do this. This harm a person is going to die or is already dead. There's no harm in doing this and making it clear that we could expect the person to revive again. It's a Divyank, 61.8, Venus return coming back, starting the pressure for SA node, and then functions start thereafter. Even if it is not SA node, even if it starts the AV node, heart rate might come down, but still person could revive and things would start happening more once more and more circulation comes into the cycle and person is able to recover fully and start walking around with full conscious or super conscious attention, and the person will be in tune with divine nature. So I think I have explained this pacemaker, how it helps to even make you revive. Punarjivan can be given by returning it effectively. Coming to the last stage, as I told you, heart is considered to be the seat of life. Blood is life, heart is life. It's efficient cardiopulmonary facilitation to give all the 100 trillion cells what is required by them with the pumping of the heart, and for the pumping of the heart, SA node and AV node plays a very important role. If it is SA node, heart rate will be around 72. If SN node is not able to recover, AV node will be able to recover. Concentration could come down to 38.19. Still person revives, and once circulation becomes perfectly efficient, the person will be able to move on with the life much more efficiently. So quote in quote, objective of this is to show how this particular system is so beautifully designed with Divyank alone. Having explained that, I think this is enough for then people can easily understand, raise and move on to the highest levels of concentration. I leave it to everyone else to do that. Anyway, it was lovely sharing my experience, my understanding, where I've broken from what others talk. I'm not saying they have not, I'm not trying to find fault with anybody. But I think we could have done that earlier and given a much better, perfect anatomy of the heart, perfect physiology, perfect biochemistry, perfect psychology. As a result, with the help of other correlated things, we could be in tune with nature in a much better way. I'm just trying to show, or rather unlearn and relearn again, so that I could reverse aging and become as young as 21 even at this age. Even when I grow older, I want to remain 21 alone. And that's it. That is a message which I'm going to the world, because I want to rewrite all the books with Divyank in mind, so the world does not have to unlearn and relearn again. I want a uniform education of medical system right up to 100 trillion cells, perfect human being, perfect solar system, perfect spiral galaxy, and perfect Milky Way. Up to that, it is all same uniform Divyank, Divyank, and Divyank alone. And that's the message. Having done that, leave it. Now we'll go next to the next stage. Thank you very